Ukraine is giving Russian invaders no room to breathe, with persistent and heavy strikes on strategic targets. Ukrainian defense forces launched a massive strike with cruise missiles and kamikaze drones on the Topaz plant in temporarily occupied Donetsk. This was reported by local Telegram channels, Ukrainian OSINT projects, and military observers, including Dnipro OSINT, Cyberbaroshno, and Ukraine Context. Russia, no context. Eyewitnesses are posting photos and videos showing Russian air defense systems in action and thick smoke rising above the city. According to the Cyberbaroshno project, an army-level command post is located on the territory of the enterprise. It is known that since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, Russia has been using the plant to store its equipment, which is why it has repeatedly been targeted by Ukraine. It is currently unknown what type of weapons were used to attack the plant. However, footage published by local residents suggests that the strike may have been carried out using Peklo or Bars cruise missiles. The characteristic location of the jet engine and wing, captured on video, supports the theory that a Peklo missile was used. It should be noted that rocket strikes against high-ranking Russian officers have already been carried out in Donetsk. In particular, on June 30th, during an attack on the command post of the Russian 8th Combined Arms Army, the group's communications chief was eliminated. Since the start of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine, at least 92 U.S. citizens have been killed fighting for Ukraine. The New York Times reported this, citing estimates from the Museum of the History of Ukraine in the Second World War. According to Yuri Horpanich, curator of the museum's exhibition on foreign fighters in the war in Ukraine, several thousand Americans are currently serving in the Ukrainian army. The museum's data shows that at least 92 U.S. citizens have been killed in battles for Ukraine. At the same time, the U.S. government is reportedly determined to avoid any suggestion of direct confrontation between its military and Russians, and therefore provides almost no assistance to volunteer combatants. Wounded Americans in Ukraine are supported in particular by the U.S. nonprofit R.T. Weatherman Foundation, which also tracks cases of missing persons and repatriates the remains of fallen soldiers to the United States. Commander-in-Chief Syrskyi reports that Ukrainian forces regained 5 times more territory than they lost in August. Ukrainian forces lost 5 square kilometers, 2 square miles, but regained control of 26 square kilometers, 10 square miles, in the Pokrovsk sector in Donetsk Oblast in August, Commander-in-Chief Oleksandr Syrskyi said. Throughout the summer campaign, Russian forces prioritized operations around Pokrovsk, deploying sabotage and reconnaissance units that briefly entered the city but were ultimately repelled. According to Syrskyi, a similar ratio of lost and regained territory was observed near the town of Dobropilya, where Russian forces made a short-lived but dramatic advance in early August through the use of infiltration tactics. Overall, Ukrainian forces liberated 58 square kilometers, 22 square miles of its territory, and several settlements over the past month, he added. The Pokrovsk axis remains one of the most challenging. Over the past week, our units have repelled approximately 350 Russian attacks, Syrskyi said. This is where Russian forces have concentrated their main efforts, assembling their largest offensive grouping in an attempt to break through our defenses, Syrskyi added. The news reflects an increased frequency of counterattacking operations on the Ukrainian side, which has been in a strategic defensive posture along the front line in eastern Ukraine for almost 2 years. These counterattacks are commonly led by units of Ukraine's assault forces, a new branch of the armed forces established by Syrskyi. In the first days of September, Ukraine's 425th Assault Regiment, better known as Skala, reported to have cleared 2 villages around Pokrovsk of Russian forces, Novoekonomichne and Udachne. Russia has continued to intensify its ground offensives in eastern Ukraine, concentrating the bulk of its forces in the Pokrovsk sector in an effort to seize the key logistics hub. This effort incurred significant losses to Russia, including 297,000 soldiers killed and injured since 2025, including 28,000 casualties in August alone, Syrskyi said. Ukraine has also ramped up its aerial strikes, with Ukrainian drones hitting 67,000 targets in the past month, including 60 strategic industrial and military facilities struck as part of the deep strike operation, according to the commander. With no ceasefire in sight, Russia's advances in the region help strengthen Moscow's hand in possible peace negotiations as U.S. President Donald Trump pushes for a deal to end the war. The Kremlin's plan for a peace agreement reportedly involves Ukraine withdrawing all its forces from Donetsk Oblast, ceding the entire region to Russia in exchange for frozen battle lines on the other sectors of the front. The defense forces have liberated another village in the Donetsk region from Russian occupiers. The 425th Skelia Separate Assault Regiment has liberated the village of Zarikny in the Donetsk region. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported on this and published a video. The soldiers of Skelia Regiment raised the Ukrainian flag on one of the buildings in the village. Zarikny is located on the Zherobets River and is part of the Lyman rural community in the Kramatorsk district of the Donetsk region. During the offensive in the fall of 2022, part of the village was liberated. On September 5th, it became known about the liberation of a village in the Dobropilya sector, carried out by the fighters of the Rubizh Brigade together with adjacent units. According to preliminary information, during the battle, a platoon of Russian servicemen was destroyed, wounded, and taken prisoner.
Село Зарічне звільнено силами 425-го окремого штурмового полку «Скеля». Слава Україні!
Warthog Defense reported about this in our previous video, and now in Yakutsk, Russia, a military burial site for so-called SVO heroes was destroyed by a grader. A woman who came to visit her brother's grave found the entire section flattened. Now trucks drive over the graves. Is this normal? She wrote on Instagram. Ramzan Kadyrov said he opposes ending Russia's war against Ukraine, claiming peace is only possible if Ukraine becomes a region or district of Russia. He argued that stopping hostilities now would not serve Russia's interests, echoing Kremlin propaganda about security guarantees. Trump's envoy, Keith Kellogg, said Russia's strike on the government building in Kyiv shows no intent to end the war through diplomacy. He noted the rising risk of escalation and said he visited the site with Prime Minister Sviridенko 2 weeks earlier.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comments section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.